Okay, so today we've got Endo. He's a graduate entry dentistry student. He's in Aberdeen, and he's at a bit of a path towards getting into dentistry. So he's going to let us know all about that. And Aberdeen Uni. Aberdeen Uni, is that right?
Yeah, Aberdeen. Yeah, Uni of Aberdeen.
All right. What year?
So we actually get our results next week, Thursday. So if that's going all right, I'll be in BDS4. So
BDS4, okay.
But because we don't do the first year, it's technically my third year that I'll be going into.
Okay.
But,
yeah, we actually know each other from secondary school in Derby. I know back then you were big on football.
Yeah.
You're exploring football. Are you still playing some football?
Yeah. I'm still playing football up in Scotland. Yeah, I'm playing for the first team at uni where they do the books football on Wednesdays, but they actually have a men's league that they're playing on Saturdays regularly as well. So you get to go up and down Scotland, traveling and playing different football teams. So
yeah, back then you're playing up front.
Yeah, still playing up front, left footed.
Left foot.
Still playing up front. Still
Chelsea.
Here and there. But yeah, Chelsea, and I've got a love for Leicester as well because I grew up there before Derby a bit. So I'm still dual supporting, balancing them, even though they're in the same league. But that will never change.
Okay, and the beard as well. You need to teach me how I can grow mine.
Yeah, I'll give you some tips. It's lockdown. This lockdown beard. I want it to go, but these barbers aren't open just yet.
All right. So okay, tell us, why did you choose to become a dentist?
Well, I've always had like an interest in science, and it was one of the few subjects at school that I was really passionate about in terms of science. And at the time, I didn't really know what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go because I was so focused with football as well.
Yeah.
But as I kind of got older, I had quite a few experiences, like in terms of breaking my teeth in football and things and situations where I had I was very nervous to go into school because I had a few issues and accidents with breaking my teeth. And when I always went to the dentist, they always made you feel so calm and so and they really cared for you. And when I eventually got my bridge fixed, it was one of the best feelings ever, just to have that confidence to go back in. So I always had an interest from there. But as I got older, I didn't initially get the grades at A levels that I needed to get first time into dentistry or to medicine. So I went abroad and had a few experiences, and I wanted to see if I could explore the option of doing an undergrad when I got back. And I went and did some experiences got some experience in dental practice.
Let me stop you there. Let's talk about the whole thing of going abroad. You went over that very quickly, but that sounds interesting.
Yeah. So, at that time, just before, after I left school with you, I was playing for Nottingham Forest, I think at the time. I had a trial for them, and I had the option to sign for them for the youth system scheme or whatever, or I had a scholarship offer to go to Repton, which was a private school at the time. So I thought, you know what, let me carry on my A-levels and see what happens from there. So I went to Repton. And then I had a college, an American coach come and watch me play while I was at Repton. And he liked what he saw. So he offered me to do a scholarship in America, in Denver, Colorado. So I was playing football.
At this stage, were you thinking football could really take off?
Yes. So at this stage, I would say it was almost 90 to 100% football. And I had a little, in the back of my mind, I was hoping that, that would sign permanently, but I was using education kind of as like a way to push it forward, because they were talking to me about all the prospects of signing for an American team over there. But at the same time, I was keeping my options open by doing an undergrad over there. So
how did that then develop? You being in America, studying there, football there?
It was one of the best experiences that I could have ever had. It wasn't a full scholarship. It was about 70-80%. And it is very expensive to study over in America. And, when I got there, these guys were athletes, just could run all day. But luckily I had like the football skills to keep up, but I had to get myself into shape. And, you know, being over there and making like a lot of good friends over there is something that I'll always kind of cherish. But because of how expensive it was, that's one of the and you know, that was one of the reasons that I decided to come back after that 1 year that I was out there. Yeah. But you know, when I was there, it was an amazing experience, and you know, their college system is very different, and I opened my eyes to kind of how they do it over there. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking that maybe is this really the best option for me if I ever want to pursue something like dentistry in future. So it wasn't the best thing to do.
What was the thinking behind coming back to England?
The thinking was, you know, to put it bluntly, first of it, one of it was cost. It was very expensive to stay over there without a full scholarship, because, you know, you have to pay for your like medical fees out there. You have to pay for a lot of things out there. So that was one reason. And the second reason was I'd have to do an undergrad over there and then do another degree at a different uni over there, which is actually quite similar to what I ended up doing here. But to do it over there would have been an extremely expensive process. So I thought, let me come back to England and, you know, go with what I know and see if I can carry on playing a bit of football on the side and see what happens in that respect, and be a bit closer to home.
So education-wise, what did you do next when you got back?
Education-wise, yeah. So just before I went to America, I still applied for English unis here, and I managed to get a place in the pharmacy to study pharmacy at the Montfort Uni. So I came back to study pharmacy for a couple of years at the Montfort Uni. But, you know, as I was doing that, you know, even coming back after America, within the first few months, I started to understand that, you know what, I don't really feel that this is for me. And it's a very scary time because, you know, you've got a lot of support from your family. You've got a lot of people there who are, you know, wanting you to, you know, you're doing a great degree, which is pharmacy. And in your heart, you're feeling that I really don't think this is for me. So
what was it about pharmacy that wasn't for you in particular?
I just, you know, I just didn't have a passion to do it in the end. Like when I'm studying dentistry, studying it, when I was studying pharmacy in Leicester, I was dreading the thought of having to, you know, it's a great degree, and it's a great job, but I was dreading the thought of having to do that every day in that, you know, in that quite confined environment. And as you're studying the degree, you're getting to know what a pharmacist does day to day on a day-to-day basis. And that just didn't sit with me. I wanted to be a bit more creative. I wanted to have a bit more patient interaction. I wanted to, you know, have a few more complex cases to deal with on a patient basis rather than almost be the overseer there and making sure things are right. I wanted to have a lot more face-to-face contact with patients.
How long was that process of deciding that you're not really into pharmacy? Was that like a month? Was that like half a year? What was that process for? How long?
It was a while. It was a while. And, you know, if I have one of the regrets, it was that I didn't make that decision earlier. So I got through my first year and I was thinking, all right, maybe my passion will grow. You know, it's a job at the end of the day. And then when I got into my second year and, you know, things started to really step up, it was really, you know, dawning on me that this isn't something that I can see myself doing. And I was, I was lucky enough to, you know, talk to my sister eventually when we talked about different options after I finished, if I was to not carry on. And, you know, I wanted to stay in the science field, but I just didn't want to do pharmacy at the time. So I looked at other options, and at the back of my mind, I was thinking, you know, you've always loved dentistry. You've always liked to do it. You've had such good experiences there. It's a job that you can talk to people. What way right now could you see yourself getting into that? Because you don't have the A-levels for it. You're about to potentially, you know, asked to leave uni and go to another venture. So I started to really think about ways that I could get into the field. And that was probably about a year and a half into it. So halfway through my second year, I was thinking I really, you know, didn't want to, you know, I wanted something more. I wanted something different.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what's the next step from realizing that pharmacy isn't for you?
So, you know, the next step was, after having to break it to family and breaking it to friends that, this isn't quite for me, which was
That
a
can't
very
have been
difficult
easy, though.
process.
That can't have been easy after
Oh
families
yeah,
supported through all of that.
yeah, African families were very big on education, and it was very difficult at the time to let them know that it's not going to happen for me here. I'm kind of having to justify my decision as to why I'm doing it and what other options are out there, because the worst thing is just stopping and not really having a plan. And that's one thing that I really thank my sisters and my brother for, because they helped me they helped me understand, if it's stopping, you got to go to this direction now, rather than just you don't stop something without a plan. So I talked to my sister, and she initially I thought I wasn't going to be good enough to get into dentistry. I was thinking, who's going to want to drop out and whatever. So I was thinking of a physician's associate, so a PA job, because that one, after you do an undergrad, you can get into it. But my sister was like, you've always loved dentistry, why not just go for it and give it a go? And I thought, all right, you know what, let me go in with it here. And I started looking at different undergraduate degrees that involved the kind of science that I liked, which was chemistry and biology. And those were the degrees that they were looking for to get into graduate dentistry. So I ended up looking. I wanted a different city. I wanted a whole different feeling. So I thought, you know what, let me step out of the Midlands now. No Leicester, no Derby. Let me go somewhere for a bigger city. And luckily, that was one of the best decisions I ever made. And that was medicinal and biological chemistry in Manchester. So I ended up doing that. So after the second year finished, I ended up going back on UCAS, getting all the references, doing all that process again. It was a very humbling process, because, you're kind of feeling that you're going a couple steps back to go forward. But, I had to go contact all the references, and luckily Manchester Met were just brilliant staff. They were great. I called and talked to the head of year, talked to the head of the course, and they were very positive in terms of, you can definitely apply for medicine, dentistry, whatever you want after. Yeah. But even if you don't want that, eventually you can still go into like the pharmaceutical industry and do other things. So they were just very welcoming, and I love them for that, and that was great. So I went for medicinal and biological chemistry in Manchester Met, and that was the first step.
All right. So, okay, that's quite interesting then. So you went into the course knowing that you're going to go for dentistry. What were other people that were on the course planning to do?
Very chemistry orientated, pharmaceutical orientated set of students there. So it was medicinal and biological chemistry, but in general, we sat with pharmaceutical chemists, just straight chemistry people, a bit of biochemistry, some biomed people there. There was courses of chemistry and biology there. So a lot of my peers who were there were wanting to get into the pharmaceutical industry or work in labs and things like that. There wasn't so many people who were considering doing medicine after. I think I recall only about 2-3 people that I met that were considering doing dentistry or medicine. I was the only one who wanted to do dentistry, but then there were others there that wanted to do medicine and other degrees afterwards. So yeah, it was interesting. Yeah.
And then as you're nearing the end of medicinal chem
and biological chemistry, yes.
Medicinal and biological chemistry.
Medicinal biological chemistry. So
as you were getting to the end of it, what was it like applying for dentistry at that point?
It was tough, I didn't get into dentistry first attempt. So at the time I was applying, I was going through a lot in terms of my dissertation. It was really intense, and we had a couple of exams at the time. So when you're trying to balance doing your dissertation and then studying for the UCAS, trying to actually go and do interviews, at this time as well, you're trying to get experience within the dental practice as well. Talk to people to see if you can get that experience. So it's a lot to balance it, and the UCAS I found so hard. That was probably the defining part of the whole process, cracking the UCAS to actually eventually get a good score in it, because the first attempt wasn't an amazing score, and I was relying on my CV and relying on hopefully interview skills to be a chunk of the process. So it was tough.
Yeah,
So
I can relate to that because when I decided I wanted to do dentistry, I applied in, yeah, it would have been final year
yeah,
of uni in Leicester. And yeah, I can
mm,
totally relate about the UK CAT, trying to do a
yeah,
dissertation, exams, assignments, and you're
yeah.
trying to do work experience. It's a lot.
It
It's a
is a
lot.
lot,
Yeah.
and it's. I think as well, it's how much you want it. I feel if you really really want to do this course, if you're willing to go through all of that, and it's the best feeling. I'm still a million miles away from getting in at this point, but
You're very close.
yeah, I was getting there. I was getting there, but I eventually did the UK CAT. And just as I was finishing the degree, I ended up not getting accepted into anywhere in my first attempt.
So what was that like?
Um,
Not getting accepted at that
uh,
point?
it was heartbreaking because I think the last people to reject me were, I think it was UCLan, and at that time I had a football trial in California. I had a trial at LA Galaxy about in January, and just as I was about to leave to go to play football in the January break or whatever that I had. I got the email that, oh yeah, we've not accepted you. And I remember talking to my mom on the phone, just nearly in tears, oh my gosh, I can't believe, I've worked so hard and I didn't end up getting in. And it was heartbreaking. And at that point, a part of you is thinking, well, forget it. I'm just going to carry on and do something else. It's not for me, whatever. But that only lasted maybe about a couple of weeks, maybe. And I was like, no, I want to do this. I'm going to try again. I'm going to work out where I went wrong. And one thing at Aberdeen Uni that they teach you a lot is about reflection. Reflect on where you've gone wrong. And I went and got the feedback from where I was going wrong in the interview. I think it was with UCLan. They gave me the feedback, and I studied where I was weak at. And I said, let me work on this and let's give this another go. So
What did they say? What did you need to work on? And how did you work on that?
I think one of them was the manual dexterity. There was a manual dexterity task, and I forgot what it was, but I wasn't very good at that. So I knew, all right, I need to work on my hands. I need to see, if I'm good enough to do this course with my hands. I need to see, where I was going wrong with that. And
how'd you work on that?
It's funny because the job that I eventually got helped it a lot. I've always felt I was okay with my hands. Like when I was younger, I played violin, and I've always been pretty comfortable with my hands. But a lot of dentists I see are, amazing artists, amazing chefs, really do things, amazing on a lot of instruments. But I always felt that I never really had an interest to do a lot of that. But the job that I eventually got, I felt helped my manual dexterity a lot. But I just thought it was practice that I needed. So whenever, because they give you a bit of information about what would be on one of the stations in terms of, manual dexterity. So I just worked and practiced on it for a lot longer for the next time that I was interviewed. And for the other unis that I had interviews for eventually, they didn't really give you a lot of manual dexterity tasks, but the ones that, I think maybe there was one station in Aberdeen, but that I managed to do okay on it that time. So
yeah. I remember mine was origami. We had to make a bird out of paper. That was what we got. But yeah, okay. So you'd been rejected the first time round.
Yes.
What did you do for the year? So you were reflecting and working on your weaknesses. What else did you do for the year?
Where the weaknesses, and deciding what am I going to do for this year off. So the options were job or masters. Simple as at this point, football was kind of I was getting a bit older, and it was a bit more I always had the passion. I thought, you never know, Jamie Vardy, we can make it through non-league, whatever. So it hadn't gone out of my mind just yet. So I thought, let me just do something and keep obviously doing football on the side. So I eventually, long story short, I got a job to do sales. So I think I was going to be a salesman. I was going to be a salesman for science software. It was pretty, relatively okay, well paid. And it was a great little company just on the edge of Manchester that that offered me that job. But a week after, I got accepted on to do a master's in King's in London. And why I was thinking about doing the master's was because I wanted to stay studying. I wanted to expand my knowledge a bit in a specific area of science that I could maybe get a job in, and that's, very specific. So that was almost a backup if dentistry didn't work out. So I decided in radiopharmaceutics and pet radiochemistry as to do a master's in, because I was quite weak in the radioactive chemistry side of my degree. So I thought, let me turn that weakest point into my strongest point. And that's a very specific field of chemistry. And if dentistry doesn't work out, I've got something to fall back on, and, I'll go from there. So I had the job and I had the master's off, and decided to do the master's because let me have a different experience outside of Manchester, progress on my knowledge, and have another, a title to my name, which could help me out to get a job. So down to London I went, and, some people ask me, why did you do the master's? Why didn't you just, save money or whatever? But I'll get into the story later, but that master's is one of the reasons that I'm in dentistry right now. It was an amazing, amazing experience. And I was part of the GKT, the Guy's King's Thomas campus, where they do their medicine and their dentistry. So in the house that I was living in, I was living with 4 of the medics. I was playing for the football team there, who had a lot of medics and dentists there. So being in that environment and talking to them, forming those friendships and relationships, that really reignited the fire again to really be like,
so it was the association, the network of other people that are doing medicine, that are doing dentistry, that was
priceless.
Worth it.
It was priceless, man. It was, one of my good friends, he's a dentist now. He was a massive, massive help when it came to, just have it, giving me that inspiration to follow through with this and be like, it is worth it. It is really, really worth the graft, but you're going to have to be way more committed to this. Because, I wanted to do it, and, not having, I didn't have any dentists in my family or anything like that. And, you didn't either. So you just thought, all right, yeah, something I'll apply and I'll get into, and whatever. But it really, really takes a lot of commitment. And I don't feel I had that the first time that I applied. I was committed and I wanted to do it, but being in that environment, surrounded with a lot of medics and dentists, it shows you that, wow, you're here, but your dedication needs to be here. So that was a really good experience that I had at King's.
So I want to know what sorts of things did you do to prepare this time round?
So I worked a lot harder on my UK CAT. I put in more effort and more time into studying, and I got more experience in at a dental practice itself, just to see the day-to-day running of, how it all works. And I ended up doing a mentoring course when I was there. And I went into underprivileged schools in East London and talked to, I think it was year 7s and year 8s. So every week on a Thursday, I'd go to East London to an underprivileged school, talk to the kids about life decisions, help them with their homework, help them with, we did math, science, and then just like fun and games and stuff like that. And then just generally talk to them. And, there's a lot of knife crime and things like that that happened that were going on at the time. So just help them make better life decisions. And that was really priceless for me, because like I was telling them about my story so far of like, football and this and that. And like just seeing like you can actually have a big influence on people's lives when you are doing certain things with your career. That was like, that's wow, good. I really want to do, I want to go further with my life and, do something like dentistry. So I worked on a lot of things.
Tell me about the work experience. So how much work experience did you have on your first year of applying to dentistry? And then how much work experience did you have on the second time?
I think it was about a week the first time that I had on my first application, which was good. I would go in for a few hours.
Where did you do it? What type of practice was it?
Yeah, that was in Leeds. The first year that I did it, and then the second time I did it for another week in Leeds. But then I got to experience how my friends who were dentists at the time at King's. I got to see how their whole student dental practice worked as well. I did that. I shadowed him for a day or two, when he was actually doing his undergrad, because I was a patient there, and I got to see how he walked me around the whole setup of it, and I was like, wow, this is really impressive.
So
And
let's just dig into that a little bit. So at Leeds, was that a general practice?
Yeah, general practice. It was actually in Wakefield, sorry. So just on the edge of Leeds. But yeah, that was a general practice in the community. It wasn't it was
mainly NHS.
Yeah, it was mainly mainly NHS, and it was not an amazingly privileged area, and it was you saw a lot of you saw a lot of people who were struggling day to day there that were coming in, and it was a bit of an eye-opening experience to how much a dentist does, not just with with teeth, but just diet advice and talking to them about their day-to-day lives, interacting with their GPs, because there's a lot of health issues that can arise when probing into a dental patient, diabetes, whatever it is. So I really saw how they interacted in general, not just with patients' teeth.
It seems like a bit of a distance, though, for you to be going to Wakefield for dental work experience. So why was it?
It was so when we'd have week off, like sometimes we'd have reading weeks or a week off. My brother was still living in Leeds at the time, so I managed to go and stay at my brother's place, because I had the dental practice. The person who was giving me the experience, I had played football with him a few years ago. Yeah, so I probably should have mentioned that before, but yeah.
So using your connections.
Yeah. So that's the thing, having friends and stuff like that, just interacting with people, it all helps. So
were they doing dentistry at the same time as you were studying? Was it in Manchester or?
So this was so they were a dentist the whole time. Was in Manchester and Leeds. So they graduated from Barts years ago. Mm-hmm. So I played football with. I represented their church playing football. It was a Coptic Egyptian church.
Okay.
So I played football with helping my mate out and playing with their church.
What's his name?
His name's Mark.
Okay, I know a Coptic Egyptian dentist that I do a course with, but no, okay, that's
yeah. But
okay,
it was a great, it was.
So play football and make friends with dentists.
100%. Just make friends with anyone, and then some of them will be dentists, and it's such a small field that like when you hear, oh, you're a dentist as well,
because that's one thing that people struggle with, getting work experience. Did you find that same struggle?
Oh, it was massive. It was a big struggle, and I don't know why. I can't for my life of me know why it was a struggle, because you go in different practices and talk, and it's quite hard. It's quite harsh when you don't hear a lot of things back. So, for me, when I finish, eventually and qualify, I'd be so willing and wanting people to have an experience, just shadowing and seeing how it's like if they've got a passion for it, but. To get that experience, I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why it was so hard for someone who's keen to learn to get it. But it's one of those things. Yeah,
I think part of it, being on the other end, is you realize that dental practices are a busy place.
Yeah.
And when you approach them, you need to approach them correctly. Yes. So you need to, maybe turn up at a lunchtime, tell them you want to come and see them. Your whole presentation needs to be on point. Otherwise, if you just send, some message through reception, it's going to get lost.
Hand in a CV and just say, I really want to do this. You can call me back and then I'll come. You have to go.
But when you're applying, you feel like you've done a lot.
You
feel like you've done a lot to put together this CV and to leave it there. You feel like you've done a lot, but So, okay, second time round. So you then got to shadow at a dental school clinic.
Yeah. So when I had my treatment done, he showed me around, and I still had my Leeds one, that I went to, that I did the majority of my shadowing there. But when he showed me around the school, it was a real eye opener. Like, wow, so this is what the environment is like. It's because it's a very busy environment, a student clinic. And it's quite a fun environment. I love being on clinic, and it was like it's actually really awesome the way that they interacted with the clinicians, presented the case as well. I remember him presenting my case because I needed a root canal done, and it like at the time it sounded like he was speaking French, So it was an amazing experience, and I was like, wow, I'd love it, and I'd love to study at King's at that time. I was like, wow, I'd love to come back and study dentistry at King's, but obviously it wasn't, it didn't work
And I
out
think
in the
you
end.
struck a bit of
Yeah.
gold there, because that's one area that a lot of people don't know about, that if you were able to get work experience at a dental school clinic,
Yeah.
you're going to see dentists, the supervisors, you're going to meet dental students who have been through the process you're trying to get through,
100%.
and you're in the environment, you're seeing how it works on a clinic. Like, it's everything all in one.
It was great, and I remember he had a student nursing for him as well. And after the treatment was done, they both talked to me about their experiences of applying, experiences within the clinic, experiences in the school. And it was like, so this is really what it takes. And all through that, it was just hammered that it is commitment, that you need to really go into this 100%. And that was one of the reasons till today I feel that I managed to get in. That year at King's, it was priceless. And I think we'll get to it, but even sadly that year I didn't get in at my second attempt. So that was very heartbreaking as well.
Okay, so first attempt after doing the degree in Manchester, you didn't get in.
Yes.
Then the second attempt after doing the masters in King's.
Yeah. So there was that gap. So that initially I didn't get in first attempt in Manchester, graduated from Manchester, and then I think the application ends in October. So I just started my masters at King's when I did the second attempt. And that second attempt, I hadn't. So I still had my experience at the practice in Leeds. And I just it was still in the early stages of forming these friendships at King's and with all these people. So I felt that I had improved a bit, but I wasn't, I wasn't ready at that time to get accepted in. And
did you get interviews on that second try?
Pardon?
Did you get interviews on that second try?
Yeah, I only got one interview on the second try, because again, my
Where was that?
That was at UCLan.
UCLan, okay.
Yes, that was at UCLan. And a couple of the places got me feedback and said that, they want to see me do a few more things outside of dentistry to improve my application. And that's where the idea of doing the mentoring came in as well. So funnily enough, I didn't actually put that on the CV at the time because I hadn't fully been accepted onto the mentoring scheme. But I did it for the rest of that year, and that was an amazing experience. So I felt the third time applying, this has got to be it. I felt this is definitely it, because I'd had that King's experience. Yeah. I did the mentoring. I was still doing, I still went and got experience. And I thought, after the masters.
What can anyone say now?
What, it has to be it. It has to be it. But as you know, life works out differently. And we'll get into that.
You applied the third time.
Yeah.
Who did you hear from? Where did you apply? Did you apply to 5-year courses? Did you apply to the 4-year courses?
So 1 5-year course, and that was at Sheffield, and then the rest of the courses was 4 years. So
what was the thinking behind that?
The thinking behind that was, let me do something different, because I was fine to do 5 years, but I just thought I'd like to get it over, get into practice as soon as possible. And that's why, and I've done a degree, so it makes sense that I'd be going for the graduate ones, leave the undergraduate ones for the undergrads. But I think people need to expand their mind and think, like, you can actually do 5 years. Like, it's absolutely fine to do a 5-year course. And that's a very good option for people, because 4 years is very intense. You get straight into it, and, but I thought, let me just go for 1 5-year one that's relatively close to me, because Sheffield isn't too far from Derby, and let me see what happens. But then the others, King's, it was granted just because I've got a lot of friends there, and it was I loved it in London. UCLan as well, because it was graduate, not too far away from Derby, and it makes sense. And I thought, what, third time, this should hopefully be the one time that I get in. And finally, Aberdeen. So I didn't actually apply. I applied for Aberdeen my first attempt. I didn't in my second attempt, and in my third attempt, I thought, graduate degree. I did a bit of Googling, and I thought, it's a really beautiful city in terms of there's so many things around it. There's mountains around it, and I love my outdoors. I love exercise, all of that. So I thought, it'd be a different experience. My first choice definitely in my heart was going to be King's, but between UCLan and Aberdeen, I thought it would actually be quite a difficult choice because I actually loved just the whole environment of Scotland and like, the outdoors element of it. So
Yeah.
I went for Aberdeen and
so who got back to you?
So I got my best score on my UCAS this year primarily because one of my friends who I was helping me with my application, the guy that did the treatment on me in King's, he ended up getting a job in Derby. So as my master's finished,
I think my younger brother knows him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, one of my mates, yeah. Okay. So he got the experience, and funny enough, it was in Derby, and I was studying so much for the UCAS with him. He was helping me in terms of speaking like a dentist, interview practice, things like that. And it was a real priceless experience, him happening to get a practice in Derby, and I was able to still study and he helped me out. And I managed to get 3 interviews. Yeah. So UCAS, I got my best score on it. And I got an interview at Aberdeen. I got an interview at UCLan, and I got an interview at King's. And that was it was so spaced out. And that's one sad thing about the whole application process. Sometimes it's so spread out with how long you get, you'll get a response with one person, not hear about another person for another 3 months. And yeah, I managed to get 3 interviews. Sheffield rejected me because they said I hadn't got enough hands-on experience in a dental practice, but okay. That's fair enough. So I think at this time I finished my master's, so I managed to get a job as a radio pharmaceutical technician. Right. So I was working still down in London, so I was making radioactive drugs for cancer patients. And this is kind of where I feel that my manual dexterity really improved. So I was working in a clean room, so I'd fully gowned up and working with radioactive drugs, injecting radioactive drugs into, proteins or whatever through a glass. Like, I don't know, in The Simpsons when like you see Homer in the thing, like, it's kind of like in that, like in a nuclear power plant, so to speak, but it was in a hospital. So it was a very intense job in terms of when it's with radioactivity, you're waking up early and you have to be very precise. It's got to have a high level of purity, and there's a big safety element. And I feel that helped a lot with my manual dexterity. So all this time in my 3rd application, I was working full time as well as applying. So it was intense. So and when I met Nathan, there was just that gap, about a month gap where I was in Derby and doing all the studying before I eventually moved down to London again to work in my job.
So the 3 interviews, how was that process now for you? Do you remember the order they came in? Do you remember going to them? What was that like?
It was amazing. Like it was great. So the first one that I had was Aberdeen. That was around, I think it was November time. No, it was around December time. And I'd only been to Scotland once before to play football. Yeah. So I flew up to Aberdeen. I remember I was working on the Monday, flew up straight after work, and then I was back at work, I think, on the Thursday. And when I got to Aberdeen, I was like, wow, like, 1, it's very far away. Yeah. 2, when I was actually there and they gave us a tour of the dental school, I was so like impressed. Like, it was such good facilities, really new, really modern, up to date. And it was just like, this is really, really cool. They had the clinical skills room upstairs, and it was a very small student to staff ratio. Like, so it was only 20 people in the year. And there's only about 20 people in the year now. And you still got quite a few staff members. So I was really like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. So interview went good. The interview went well. And there was a manual dexterity station. I'm not too sure what it was now, but it was, that was the main bit that I was scared of. But other than that, it was almost like a conversation with the clinicians and the people who were there. And it was just so smooth, and they were so nice about it as well. So that was great. The next interview that I had was a while away. I think that was UCLan, which was only a couple of weeks after the Aberdeen one. And that, again, it went okay, other than the manual dexterity station, which I completely messed up again this time. Okay. So other than that, like, the other stations were absolutely fine. And I thought, you know what, I think I've got a good chance here. It's just that one station again that's got me down. And then I had the King's one in February time, I believe. Yeah, it was in February time. And the first people to reject me was Sheffield, and they said the reasons why. Second was UCLan, and I got the feedback again. And I was very close this time because they give you a ranking of where you were. And this was the closest that I got. And I was like, oh my word, you know, but I still had faith. And I was sad that I didn't get in, but I was happy in the sense that, you know what, 3 interviews this time, this shows that I'm progressing and that I've got a chance with it. So I think after the UCLan got back to me, it was the King's interview. And this was the one that I really, really wanted. You know, out of all of them, I was like, I would love to stay in London, you know, whatever. And I think the interview on the whole, it was okay, other than there was a station where you had to talk and describe something, and I'm not too sure what it was, but I didn't do very well on that station. I got my words a bit mumbled, and I think the nerves got to me, and you know, once it starts going bad, it just got worse and worse and worse. And I was like, oh, hopefully, if they're not counting that station, should be okay. And then I'll never forget, I was driving to a football match, and I managed, and they both came on the same day. The feedback from Aberdeen and the feedback from Kings.
Yeah.
I got the Aberdeen one first, and they said, your application is unsuccessful.
Wow.
You've been placed on, however, you've been placed on the waiting list. If you've not heard anything back by, I think, the end of April, then I read it as, if you've not heard anything back by the end of April, then it's game over, basically, because we'll get back to you by then. And then I was like, oh, I can't believe it, I'm not in. About an hour later, I was about an hour away from my game. I was driving, and then I managed to, I heard the email come through, pulled over, boom, your application has been unsuccessful to Kings. Wow. Just sat back like that, just like, well, it's game over. It's done. It's finished. I remember I missed about 5 sitters that match. We lost 2-0. I was just like, what is the point?
Yeah.
You know, I carried on. I carried on my work, my job in London. I hadn't heard anything back from Aberdeen for ages. You know, April went by, I didn't hear May, June, and at this point, it's over. And I'm talking to my friend. My friend's still in Derby, and I'm in London working. And you know, I felt like I've let him down. I felt I've let everyone down, because third time it was meant to be the one. I've got all this experience. I've got everything. It's over. Like, how have I done this? And he was just like, look, things happen. You've improved so much. Like, the way from when we started studying with UCAS till when, you know, you did it, you've improved a lot. So just don't beat yourself up. The only person that was saying, you know, you've still got a chance here, was my mum. Like, everyone else, even brothers and sisters in this case.
Thank God for mothers. Yeah.
Thank God for mothers. She was saying, look, Aberdeen have not rejected you yet. You know, you're on waiting list. Just wait and see. And I was like, Mum, look, it's May, June, whatever. They've said that, you know, they're going to get back to me. If they've not, it's done. So I don't know if I'm going to apply again or not. So at this point, I'm thinking, should I give myself one more go? Should I not?
Yeah.
You know, everyone in my family and my mate was saying, give it one more go. Really go hard this time. Really give it your all, and you will get in this time. And I was thinking, I don't know if I've got it in me, but all right, whatever. So it got to August, and I'm having, you know, doing a shift. Yeah, this is August now. So I'm doing a shift at work. I come down, you know, you have to get gowned up and you have to get ready to go into the clean room. Leave the clean room. I'm going down for my lunch. I look at my phone. I see a number like 01224 or something like that. Why is this weird post? What's this number calling me for? I go down, heat my lunch. So dentistry is not on my mind at this point, because I'm thinking I'll start doing all the UCAS work in September, whatever.
So you prepared yourself mentally to apply for the 4th time?
I wasn't even in that state. I was still in a sense of shock. I was going to do it, but I was tired. You know, I was going to do it again, but I was tired. You know, I was thinking, yeah, I'm not looking forward to the whole process, because early August you're doing your preparations and you're getting things ready. But I think the deadline's in October, so you're not probably at 100% yet. So I was thinking, dentistry was not on my mind at this point. I was thinking, because at that time I was getting ready to apply for a promotion at work. There was a clinical trial that they were about to do at that hospital with lutetium to treat prostate cancer or something like that. And I was really wanting that promotion. I got a strange phone call, basically. I heat my noodles or whatever in the microwave. And I thought, I don't even know if I want to ring this number back, because I'm like, why is it a weird number? Is it going to be spam? I thought, all right, yeah, why not? I'll just call him back. So while it's in the microwave, I'm just like, hello, I got a missed call from you. And then I just hear on the phone, hello, my name's so-and-so from University of Aberdeen. A few of our people weren't able to make it on the course, so we'd like to offer you a place to study dentistry in Aberdeen.
Wow.
And I'm just like, what? Are you being serious? Is this legit? Yeah, I'd love to. I'm like literally nearly in tears on the phone. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm in. Just like that. And, you know, the first person I call straight away is my mum, saying, Mum, they're giving me a place. I'm like literally nearly in tears. And, you know, I'm like, what is going on? And like, it's just, you get this joy, just like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
So that was on a Thursday. I got the call. Monday, I resigned from work. And then a week and a half, 2 weeks after that, I pack up and I go. You know,
wow.
I leave my whole life in London and move to north of Scotland within 3 weeks.
Country.
It was just surreal. You know, when I got that phone call, they were just like, you know, I was like so overcome with joy, and like they were just like, all right, calm down. You need to go sort out your student finance. You need to go and accept it on UCAS. You need to go and do this and that.
Early August.
Like, this is early August, and at the
uni started in September.
End of August. We started at the end, the last week of August. Yeah. And then I think officially it started on the 1st, but I think we needed to be back around the end of August time. So it was literally within about 3-4 weeks of me working that job, resigning, sorting out all my accommodation. You know, because, you know, to move houses, to leave a house is like, it's a big thing. And like, it was just, you know, you're just so happy, and you're just so like, wow, you know, this is absolutely amazing. So just like that.
It's exhausting just thinking about that process of trying to get in.
Yeah.
Just listening honestly, to it sounds exhausting, man. I don't know how many times I would have continually applied and applied again. So, okay, so let's just summarize it. So
yeah,
from you leaving college to getting into dentistry, how many years was that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it was 7 years.
7 years, okay.
7 years.
And then, okay, from you then being certain that you wanted to become a dentist, so that would have been just before you went to Manchester?
Yes. So it took me about 3 years. So about 3 years after college that I thought, let me give this 100% and go for it.
Okay, so for 4 years you were actively applying for dentistry. So you applied for 3 cycles, and you're getting yourself mentally prepared to apply for a 4th cycle.
Yes.
But then you ended up getting another 3rd cycle.
3rd one, yes.
So let's break it down so that, you know, somebody who's thinking that they've equipped themselves and prepared well for dental interviews and to get into dental school, I just want them to realize the type of competition that's out there. So you were applying for dentistry for 4 years.
Yeah.
You went through 3 cycles where you were rejected, and you were now thinking about applying for a 4th cycle, but you ended up getting accepted on your 3rd cycle. So you had a degree, you had a master's, you had dental work experience at a general practice, at a dental school clinic as well. You'd spent 3 years of building up dentally relevant work experience, mentoring as well. Like, there was a lot that went into this.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a lot of. I bet there are people like yourself who are also applying at the same time. Not just people with A-levels or just people with A-levels and a degree. You know, it's a competitive process.
It's crazy, honestly. Like, you know, it's vast. There's so many people that want to do it, and there's so little schools. There's just, you know, so you have to try and make yourself stand out just a little bit. But I think it comes down to passion as well. How much do you really, really want it?
Passion.
And I can't stress enough that there's going to be highs and lows, and, you know, there's a lot of different factors that come into it. But if you really, really want it, you're going to have to be persistent, be set out time daily to be studying for the UCAS, to be going out and getting your experience and really, really want it, because, you know, it's hard doing the course, but it's really mentally hard applying for it and being rejected and having to come again and being rejected again. So
why did you apply again and again?
Because I wanted it. I just really, really wanted to do it. And I just thought, this is the only thing that I want to do outside of football that I would be genuinely happy with. Yeah. You know, there's so much to dentistry. I know I've even talked a lot in detail about why I want to do it, but you know, there's a lot about it that I just love. And I just thought, for me, other than being a professional footballer, this is the only thing that I would really be like, okay, I'm happy. Yeah. And I wasn't willing to give that up after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. So you've got to really want it that much and be passionate about it and find a way in, you know.
Okay, so you probably got the most experience of applying to dental school of anyone I know. How would you condense all that you've learned in applying to dental school to equip somebody to not make the same mistakes or to be more effective? How would you like condense that all?
Condense it down. I would say be organized, be structured in what you're doing. You know, the first time was a bit haphazard. It was a bit all over the place. You know, I'd study for the UCAS a couple of hours, maybe before football on a Saturday, and that would be it for the week. But by the third time, it was this, you know, a few hours, 6 days a week, every day at a certain time. Think outside of the box for things like charities and mentoring and things like that. It doesn't necessarily have to just go to an old people's home and like help them out. You don't have to go to, I don't even know where you get charity from, but things that apply to you that you've got a bit of an interest in. Like for me, I really wanted to help out kids in poor areas. And I thought, wow, that's kind of two birds in one stone there. That's a charity and showing that, you know, I do have a passion to help other people, as well as me personally wanting to help those other people. So think a bit outside the box when it comes to things like that. And you get manual dexterity and you get your hands working in different ways. And I think most dentists already do play instruments and things like that, so they've got it sorted. But there are different jobs and different things that you are getting your hands on, and you know, different ways that you're improving your manual dexterity. So my advice is literally think outside of the box a little bit, because there's different ways to get all the things that you need, and be structured and organized in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Finally, just want it. Don't do it for the clout or, you know, for, you know, selfies or whatever. Don't do it for all of that. Do it because you have a genuine passion for helping patients and helping people.
Okay. Hey, thank you for that, Endo. One final thing, just because we didn't really talk much about Aberdeen Dental School. Just give us a feel for what Aberdeen Dental School is like. You know, what's the setup like? What's the routine like?
Yeah. It's great. You know, it's a very small dental school. I think it's the smallest dental school in the UK.
20?
20 people in a year, 80 people in the whole school roughly. And it worked for me a lot because, you know, it's a tough degree, let's be honest. Very, very difficult practical aspect. And you've got the academical aspect as well. You're learning a lot of information. So for someone who maybe takes a little bit of time to learn something, I'm not one of these people who's got a photographic memory. It was great having a small student staff ratio and small staff to student ratio, because you can approach the lecturers very easily. The clinical skills room where we do all our practicing to go on to clinic, you know, it's a very nice environment. If you're struggling with something, you can go and talk to the lecturer and say, can you come over to my phantom head and just see, am I doing this right? Am I using the Gracies in the right way? Is this how I'm meant to hold the burr when I'm cutting a cavity? And you get that real one-to-one experience with the clinicians. And that is, for me, been absolutely vital. It's been great. And, you know.
So you spent 2 years in Aberdeen Dental School now.
Yeah.
You've completed there's been 2 years that you've been there.
2 years that I've done there, yeah.
What was first year like, and how was that different in second year?
First year was very, very, very tough. I'll be honest. It's because I got in like so quickly. I didn't initially know what I was going to expect, and it hits you hard with the amount of lectures that you have, and the high standards that they've got when they're there. I struggled a lot with the anatomy because we do all our anatomy that first year as well. And, there's a lot of new words and a lot of new language that I was learning because I was mainly from a chemistry, biology, biology-ish kind of background. So a lot of those anatomy words were just like, wow, this is difficult. So it's a whole different language. So it was really, really tough my first year. And the practical side of it as well, because they do practical tests before you can go see patients. I was very nervous. It was nerve-wracking. Like when I was there, and I was like thinking.
So you saw patients in your first year?
Yeah. So
because not every dental school actually offers that.
Yeah, and that was another great aspect of studying in Aberdeen because we start in August, and then by February you're seeing patients. February, March you're seeing patients. So you have to do some practical examinations before you get there. But it's a very nice environment, and like you can take as much time as you need to practice. And
what's the teaching style like?
Yeah, teaching style is like there's a lot of lectures. So like you'll have lectures most days essentially, especially in your first year, and then on a specific day you'll have your clinical skills. So like all that day will be a block of just learning clinical skills. So that could be perio, could be cavity prep, whatever it is. So like second year will be on a Thursday. Third years will be on a Tuesday, fourth years Monday. So, but in all of those, when you're not in clinical skills in those days, you're either going to be on clinic, seeing a patient after you passed your exams, or you'll be in lectures. So, when you're when you're third year, you'll have a couple of days in a week where you'll be seeing patients. Okay. Fourth year, that steps up. And
First year, do you get to a place where you're on clinic once a day?
Yeah, so once a week.
Once a week, sorry.
Yeah, once a week. So I think it was you'll either be on like a Monday or a Tuesday. You just have clinics that day, but it will only be one patient. So anything more than a patient, which is it's good. It's very like, wow, I'm actually seeing a patient today, but it's like
you follow that same patient throughout their treatment.
Yeah, so that patient is going to be yours right until you graduate, essentially. Wow. So you'll see them formulate the treatment plan, do whatever needs to be done right until you could be seeing that patient from your first day, and then right until before you graduate, before you release them. But yeah, a lot of the time as well, the older students can designate patients for the younger students if they've felt that they've done the more advanced stages of treatment. They can give it to maybe a second year to follow up, whatever it could be perio, and just build it on from there.
Second year, do you still have 1 day a week of clinics?
So second year, third year, really, yeah. So that steps up a little bit. So we'd have 2 days where we could see. So it would be 1 week that you'd see maybe 2 patients. So Thursday and a Friday, and then the next week it would just be that Friday. But then as time goes on, you're going to get more patients in those slots. So maybe I could see 2 patients in that one slot on Thursday, and then another 2 patients on the Friday slot. But then the next week, yeah, so it all depends. But there's 2 days open in your clinic in your second year.
Third year, aka fourth BDS.
Fourth year, yeah, BDS 4.
What's the difference in terms of clinic time?
The difference is just more clinics. So I think the majority of learning that you do, a lot of the learning that you do is in your third year, and it's tough. There's a lot of new aspects to what you're learning, as well as projects and things like that, presentations, and it's hefty the third year. I found it better the third year because it was more dental related. Fourth year, there's a lot of anatomy and physiology, which makes it very difficult. But third year, I found you're applying it more, and it's a lot easier to go in. But fourth year, it's a lot of clinics. So, a lot more is expected of you clinically because you've learned so much. You're seeing patients more regularly. You're really into the flow of it. And, whenever it starts with COVID, it's looking like it's going to be very enjoyable.
Final year, so fifth BDS, which is fourth year.
Yeah,
that's where you've got the most clinical time.
Yes. So much, a lot of clinical time, a lot of different things you'll be doing, and
you can explain that to people because it's going to be confusing. So when you started at Aberdeen Dental School, you were in your first year. But it's called second BDS.
Second year, so because it's BDS 2, so it's second year dentistry.
Because it's an accelerated degree course, there is no BDS 1.
There's no BDS 1.
BDS 2.
Straight into BDS 2. Yeah.
Just because I think people that don't know will get confused about
the
numbers there.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's it like being 20 of you in a year group? What's it like with staff, with other students? What's the vibe?
It's great, it's like it can be it can be a bit much, like, because you're in there so much, so much of your time is there, and like it can be a bit much seeing every person at the same time, same places every day. But in terms of academics, it's good because you form good friendships there, and like people are at different levels to you and different stages to you, but everyone's so willing to to show you their little tricks, techniques that are different to yours that can aid in your learning. And because there's not a massive crowd there, there's not a massive student population there, the lecturers and the clinicians are are so approachable, and that's one thing that I found absolutely priceless at the uni. I could email a lecturer and say, I'm really struggling doing this type of preparation, or I'm not sure about the concepts of crowns. What's the Ferrule effect? Can you talk to me? And you can go to their office and have 5-10 minutes, and then they'll sit down and explain it to you. And that is something that I'm so grateful to the uni for. And it's great. Yeah.
All right. Hey, thank you for that. Any last comments that you would say about just applying to dentistry, or about Aberdeen? Anything that?
I would say give it a go. Step out of your comfort zone. It's some people that you couldn't point Aberdeen out on a map, but have a Google, have a Wikipedia about it, and it doesn't have you expand your mind, because there's so many great experiences to have wherever you're going to go. And if it's a course that you really want to do, so you'll find the benefit of wherever you study, just from being there. So just give it a go and expand your mind, man. Honestly, it's a great experience. You'll be all right. Honestly, you'll be all right. Just keep working.